and welcome to this episode of the Black Gold Podcast. Today with me, I have two representatives of the International Black Summit, and that is Jonn Thomas, as well as Petal Gowie. Jonn Thomas is a successful businessman, and he currently is the president of Microbiz Marketing LLC. It's a company that specializes in creating customized and affordable marketing solutions to small businesses. And for Petal, she's a metaphysician and a spiritual coach. And she is the founding member of the First Friday Sisterhood, a women's support group that has been meeting for over 15 years. And she has also been a facilitator for the International Black Summit since the 90s. So, Petal and Jonn, welcome to the Black Gold Podcast.
So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having us. And, I feel good. Thank you.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Same from me. Thank you for having us on the Black Gold Podcast. We're looking forward to this interview.
Absolutely. And so, first of all, just for the listeners to get an idea of what you guys are involved in with the International Black Summit, what is like the vision of the summit? What's its purpose? How did it get started? What's the background or the origin story of it?
That's like 4 questions, right? And they're all a story. So I'll start with the simplest one to answer first is, what's the purpose?
Yes.
The purpose of the International Black Summit is to provide an opportunity for participants to bring into being their vision for the Black community in the world. So the International Black Summit is an event that happens. We have an annual event one time a year, which is coming up in August. It's a conversation being given by life through people of Black African descent, right? So I'm just like outlining it. That's why I told you it's a story, right? And it's an organization, a nonprofit organization, volunteer-led organization out of New York. And we had the first summit in 1991. And maybe Pebble will give you a little background on that. We spent about 30 minutes on the history, so we won't do that today. But just, it's kind of a rich history as to how this organization came to be almost 33 years ago.
Yeah, so I will definitely be happy to share that. And what I thought about was, my first experience of hearing about the summit, and the thing that lit me up and turned me on about it is the story of two women who participated in another organization's work. And it was a weekend course, and they would go back every so often. It was in terms of expense. And at that time, back in the 90s, it cost quite a bit of money to attend. And it cost, in terms of lodging, food, all of that. And they had to travel. And as they were together, these two women, Pat Reed Porter and Aloma Marquis, they were spending time together because they were in the course. And what happened, they started to have this conversation. They saw something for themselves as they were participating in that particular course. And they saw, wow, what would it be great? What would it be like to have something like this in our community, in the Black community? What you want to know, these two women, one was getting divorced, one was getting married, and the thing that they got, what would life be like if there was this amazing relationship, between Black men and Black women in a way that, like, we don't know, like we haven't seen. Not like the relationships were not happening and that they were not good, but there's something that they saw. And so once they saw that, and what was possible just for the community, they started talking to other people who had participated in that particular course that they were in. And these people were all, leaders in their lives, leaders in their community. And they were, wow, yeah, we're for that. We want to do that. And when they decided that they would get together, they invited, different ones who knew the space of facilitation, and they were on board, and they went, they actually had a time when there were so many people coming together that they were on like three-way calling. I call you, you call this one. And it got so much that they literally said, we need to meet. So they first met in Chicago. And in Chicago is where they actually put this thing together and say, you know what, we've got to have a place where everyone could come. And they did that in Atlanta, which was our first event. And at that event, people were having conversations around being Black. One of the questions, what is it to be Black? And people were like, I'm not Black. Well, what? I'm this, I'm that. I'm African American. Well, I'm from the Caribbean. Well, I'm from Africa. I'm this, I'm not that. But it really brought things up on the map for where people were in terms of who they were as Black and all the diverseness of that. And there was a moment where it just crescendoed, and then it just came down, and they realized that they were there for a purpose, and that purpose was bigger than them. And so they started looking at all the places where they were, that called to them in the Black community. And what they did, once they got that, several leaders in each one of these groups that had like building economies, maintaining wellness of being in their bodies, all of those things that were important to us. They went, did their thing, talked about it, hashed it out, and they came back with something amazing that they didn't even know how amazing it was until they got into the room and they shared it, and people started crying because they were moved by what they had created. And that's the declaration of the International Black Summit. That is our vision that came through that for the Black community and the world, for ourselves, people of Black African descent. Like, I'm moved right now by that. So just so you know that. And we're here now 33 years, expanding that conversation of the declaration of the International Black Summit and what's provided for people and what people can provide for themselves as they participate in inquiring into who they are and what they bring to the party and what is being envisioned through them as we are in the space of transforming, ourselves, our relationship to ourselves, and the world, and the contributing to the transformation of the universe.
Wow. I mean, that's really powerful and really, really just, there are a lot of different avenues, different ways you can go into what you just said. But the thing that I really, really like about that is that it is like being Black. It's a global experience for the most part. And so it's the idea of, we have this shared experience and we have this shared origin. And from that, how do we like look at ourselves with this in mind? Like what is our purpose? What is our function? How can we thrive and impact the world in such a way that we end up leaving it for the better? And so that is a really powerful purpose to have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the work, yeah. So you're right on there, Moses. The work that gets done, like in our upcoming event, which is August the 3rd through the 6th. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's the first weekend in August somewhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have things all year, have courses and events throughout the year, have meetings throughout the year. We have a summit share we call it the Summit Share, a virtual Summit Share every Sunday where people get to continue to engage in this conversation. But it really is a conversation about questions and issues that empowers the declaration. So I'm going to share this. I'm going to break it up a little bit. Like the declaration is, we declare ourselves, our communities, and all communities whole and complete. There's nothing to do except be. We assert that we're responsible for generating community as possibility and distinction. Our conversation of, about, and for those of African descent is one of power, self-generation, abundance, responsibility, unity, and integrity. Notice that I said our conversation. Like we're standing that it becomes our conversation. Right now, it's our conversation, right? And when people hear it, it becomes like their conversation of, about, and for those of African descent is one of power, self-generation, abundance, responsibility, unity, and integrity with the possibility of being. Petal?
We stand for the expression of our spirituality, whatever that is for us as a community, our spirituality, ending the murders of our men, women, and children, building economies responsible for funding our community, maintaining wellness of being in our bodies, providing human services, establishing nurturing relationships, altering the conversation of who we are in the media, which equates to our media. You know, what we see, what we think, empowering our youth. And
it ends, go ahead.
Go ahead,
And
baby.
it ends with, we declare ourselves, we declare that our community manifests itself in the world as a contribution in the transformation of the universe. So kind of standing there, standing in the fulfillment of that, right? People see some aspect of their vision that relates to that. And the work that we do is helping people clear the way, if you will, in their mind, in their mindset, in their thinking, in their action, to support the manifestation of their vision for the Black community and the world, which in turn is the manifestation of our declaration of the International Black Summit. Now, we can talk about it, which we do, but it's different if you get a sense, like an experience of it. So I want to stop there because I know you got some questions, and then hopefully as we go through today, we'll get an opportunity to kind of dive in a little bit to give people a sense of the kind of work that we do and how it supports whatever you're up to, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your business, whether it's your community, whether it's your church, whether it's your family. Like, you know, we all got a vision for something. And I know this is a business show, right? So one of the things you could say that it supports is people fulfilling on their vision through their business. It also supports where we get stuck. Like we get a cap like at $100,000 in our business, or we get a cap in our mind that all we can make is like $5,000 a month in our business. It's not true. There's something in a blind spot, and that's the kind of work we go in. Not we, like I and Petal, we collectively are having a conversation, And in the conversation, you'll see something that maybe you didn't see before. And you're like, well, wait a minute. This is me in the annual summit. What? So you raise your hand, you go to the mic, you engage, right? And then we'll engage with you. So I'm gonna stop there because we want to be mindful unless you tell us to keep going, we will.
I know this is incredible just in terms of what you're talking about. And especially the thing that I really want to get into as you brought it up is the idea of, I guess at the root of it is the mindset. So there's this idea of, as you said, like there's these caps that we put on ourselves. We intentionally we try to tamp down our potential because we don't believe ourselves to be capable of doing that thing, even though we have that potential within us. We don't see ourselves as being the person to bring that potential out into the world in a created form that can be experienced and consumed and really, really taken on outside of ourselves and outside of our mind. So, in terms of that idea, for that, for the most part, how can we as a culture, or at least how have you seen within your experience with the International Black Summit, those conversations about mindset and being able to just like raise the bar for yourself a little bit more? What have been your experiences, both you and Pearl as well? I want to hear from both of you on this in terms of breaking down those mental barriers, those mental blocks of realizing that you are enough, that you are capable of getting this thing out into the world, and you and only you can do this in this specific way. What have been some of your experiences in that field?
Well, first I would say that what you just said, people come to realize, they come to realize that they are enough. They come to realize that they deserve it. They come to realize the self-imposed limitations. I come to realize that. The beautiful thing about the work we do is we're not trying to fix the Black community, right? Not from a place of there's something wrong with the Black community, right? What we're doing is engaging in conversations like with yourself, right? And you look for yourself and I'll look for myself. So it's not, this is what we must do to the Black community in our space. It's more, what must I transform in myself? Right? Like, what must I transform in myself? Now, if I took that on and you took that on and Petal took that on and a million other people took that on, what they must transform within themselves will have a transformed community, which is a little different than trying to change the community. You know what I'm saying? So I've gotten a lot out of the International Black Summit. One of the things that I got is like, come to trust that I'm accepted for who I am, as I am, right now, in this moment. Nothing missing, nothing added. Like, I came to recognize that that's who I was. Other people will see what they see. That's what I saw. So, you know how sometimes it's like, I'm gonna do this when? You know, like when I get this workout, then I'm gonna write my book, or when I do this, then I'm gonna start my business, or when I finish this, then I'm gonna go to school, or as soon as the kids grow up, then I, or sooner than I, like later. I'm going to get better later, right? Which actually has me be something's wrong with me now. So kind of standing in, accepting myself for who I am as I am right now in this moment, nothing added, nothing missing, creates a space for me to look from a different place. So one of the things that happened was I got elected the president of a chamber of commerce. And as a result of that, you know, I was like, well, we need an economic development committee. I didn't know anything about economic development. I didn't even know what the word meant. I didn't understand it, had no concept of it, but I knew enough about myself to know that I could have a vision for something. And if I share that vision with people who resonate with that vision, the people who knew what it was and how it worked and how to bring it into being would show up. And they did. I called a meeting, shared it with a bunch of people, elected officials, business people, clergy, community leaders, lay people, just invited everybody. We got a vision for something, right? This is what I see for the town, for the community. This is what you said you wanted. Who sees themselves in this? Almost like, what are you bringing to the party? But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't participated in this kind of transformational work, because I would have been like, when I grow my company to $1 million, or when I do this certain thing in the community, or when I do this other thing, then I'll be ready to do that. But instead, it was be leader first, then do what leaders do, and then you'll have what leaders have, versus trying to have it all together, get it all together, and then do what I got to do, and finally I get to be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so what you're saying is it's that, is it have, do, be, or no, it's be, do, have.
Be, do, have.
That idea of, I'm not sure, like, who was that, James Allen? Something?
It's old. I've heard it through a
Yeah.
lot of different organizations. I heard a guy today talk about it. It's in the Bible.
Yeah, it's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. But for the most part, yeah, it's the idea that in order for you to become something, and I guess like the more like well-known yet kind of flippant way of saying it is fake it till you make it. But for the
No.
most part, no?
No. Mm-mm.
No.
No. No. No. Mm-mm. It's not fake it till you make it. That's something different. That actually is something different. That is fake it till you make it. This is not that. This is an authentic way of being. Right? See, fake it till you make it would be me pretending that I'm somebody or somewhere or some place that I'm not. No, this is acknowledging, here's where I am. And what's so cool about this, and this is kind of work we do, what's so cool about this is when you get, like if you got it like I got it, when you get that you're okay in your own skin as you are, you get access to being another kind of way. You're not faking it. People actually can relate to it because it's authentic. So yeah, I just want to, and this is the kind of work we do in the summit, in the conversation. Like someone would say that, and then people would share what they heard in it, and then you would hear what you heard and what they said, and then someone would say, oh, I've been faking it. And then they'll look. So, but it's good. That's good. So it's not that.
Yeah.
It actually is it is, you could have been thinking, and then we're going to let Petal jump in here. You could have been thinking about your vision of sharing Black success stories with the Black community, right? You could have been talking about it. You could have even been writing about it. You could have been sharing it amongst your friends, right? But you did one thing that kind of shifted the whole thing. You became a podcast show host. You became the podcast show host first. At least that's what you are now. Then you do what podcast show hosts do. You follow what I'm saying? You're not,
Yeah.
You might be faking being a podcast host until you make it, but in my world, you're already being that.
That makes
right?
sense.
And then there's levels of success, but you're not pretending to be a podcast host. You're actually being a podcast host right now. And there's something to own, you could say, about that, that'll give you a different look at life in terms of how you expand your vision. Because the podcast is the vehicle for the expression of the vision. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Before you know it, you might have books, you might have CDs. Well, we don't have CDs anymore. You know, online membership, Black Gold Pod, right? I mean, there's no telling where it goes. I'm gonna stop because I want Petal to say something, but you get where I'm coming from, right?
For sure, yeah, and I really like that you stopped me there and making the distinction between the fake it till you make it and the be do and have, because you're right. One is from the center of who you are, and somewhere in the Bible, I think it's Romans 12 or something like that. It's like love from the center of who you are. Don't fake it. Like run from dear life from all that is evil. Cling to what is good. And so that idea of actually like loving and being and from the center from who you truly are, who you not you believe yourself to be, it's who you were born as. It's who as you were created. Be as you
Yes.
are.
Yes.
Be as you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Petal, please go ahead and share more about this.
It really is who we already are, who we came into life as. And then you go through life and there's some things about yourself that you forget. And it's necessary to forget it because there is something more for you to receive. So in the forgetting, and as you begin to move through life and life is guiding you, and you take that guidance, and I would say that inner guidance system, it brings you to pathways that would allow you to expand more and more into who you really are. This is one of those pathways. It's not the only one, and it's one of them. And it's one of them that's designed for people of Black African descent around the world. And part of that design is that we say is people, community, coming together. And inside of that community, as Jonn spoke before, there is a synergy that occurs. As people are speaking, talking about what's going on in their lives, suddenly I see something that I didn't see before. Not that it wasn't there, but my focus was somewhere else. And suddenly there's something that comes in that allows me to have an experience of myself that I would not have had. And that if it's inside of my business, who I am is someone who works inside of what we call metaphysical, metaphysical work. It's like the bringing of the spiritual into the physical, and having that knowing that they actually go hand in hand together. You can't have one without the other. There's guidance and then there's the doing. There's you get what you need, and then there's the doing. And inside of that space, when I'm doing work with people, we're looking at what's standing in the way of what it is that you are given to do or wanting to do and think you cannot. Inside of our work in the International Black Summit, when people come, they're bringing something. They're bringing their lives. They're bringing the thing that they're bumping up against, the thing that stop them. Like you say, I'm here and I want to go here, and I don't know how to do that. In that synergy, in that group of people, we begin to hear, and it's not the how. It's really not the how. It's that which is for you to do. Because what you're to do is not necessarily what I'm to do. However, I get what there is for me that will have me go to the, I'm going to say, level, or to the place, or to the space that would allow me to accomplish that thing. And it's inside of my vision, because that vision is already giving me something. It's giving me something, and it's calling me here. It's calling me to this space, undistinguished to me. You know, like I didn't know, oh, I had a vision. Oh, you mean to say I have this vision that people love, appreciate, acknowledge, and are in the space of peace, joy, and full self-expression? Oh, so what's in the way of that? What's in the way of that over here? Because I can't do anything over there until I do what I'm to do here to clear myself, such that I can see something and I can listen authentically to you. And I can be a space that would allow for you to have what you want, not give you anything, but you find it for yourself, because you're engaging it. You're engaging me. You're engaging life. You're engaging your life. It could be all about your family. It could be about your children. It could be what you see for your children that actually impacts all children, and that you get something and you interact with your children in a way, and suddenly you start seeing other people interacting, because we are one. We are one. And that room full of people represents that one, that then gives us access, more access, more access, more access. You have access to me. And there might be something that you want to ask me, and I'll listen, and I might ask you a question. And then you start looking. And then I might say, well, do you want to hear what I see? And you say, yeah. And then I say what I see. And you might say, you know what, I was seeing that, but I just didn't have the wherewithal to say it. Or maybe I was afraid to say it because I might have to do something about it. Well, yeah, if it came up, you might have to do something about it, right? Yeah, because that's what life's giving you. That's what your life is giving you. Not some arbitrary life out here, but that's what your reason for being is giving you. And this is what we provide, that opportunity. Our purpose is to provide an opportunity for all of our participants, including me, to bring into being their vision for the Black community and the world of which I am a part of. I am a Black community. And I have a vision that supports the Black community. And my job being here, as you spoke in the Bible, my job is to get to that and give it to life, because that's what life is saying. That's what, if we're going to say, God is saying. That's what Source is saying. That's why I'm here. You know, if I'm here to get $100,000, you know, I might want to ask, well, What is that for? How is that going to bring my vision forth? What must I let go of in my own conditioning that would allow for that $100,000 or $100 million to show up, if it's dollars we're looking for? And maybe what brings us into business is the value, the thing that we are given to bring. And when we give it value, and I'm talking about what it's going to do for me, not my money. The value, I give you my money because I get you are going to give me something of value for my money, and I get to appreciate it by giving it to you. And you get to build and call more people to you who want what you have. And you're coming from a space of pure, like authentic space of your vision, and listening for it and acting on everything that it gives you. Because honestly, our vision has everything in it. Just like we have everything in it, it has everything in it for us to actually move forward. And inside of our vision, you can actually, and it's not so much find your vision, but like excavate it. It's already there, and bring it into being by who you're being about your vision and about yourself. You know, like our conversation of, about, and for those of African descent is one of power, self-generation, abundance, responsibility, unity, and integrity with the possibility of being. The possibility is real. Probability is, yeah, it is what it is. But possibility is real because there's everything in possibility. All things are possible, the Bible says. And it's what we think.
Yeah. And so in that, and that's a really excellent way of putting it all together in terms of who we are, our purpose, and what we should do in order to make sure that we're living in that. And so that's what the summit does essentially, is that it allows like the space for people to ask those questions and to receive honest perspectives and answers to those questions in a way that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do like every single day of your life. Wouldn't be able to go to your buddy and say, hey buddy, like what do you think about like being Black in the community and my purpose and vision and stuff. I mean, if you have a decent buddy, you can definitely do that. But like generally you wouldn't be able to have those in-depth conversations with a person, and you wouldn't be able to get the kind of like response that you wish, that you not that you wish, but rather the response that you know to be true, but you reject it as true because you believe yourself to not be, I guess, worthy of receiving that response. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's so cool. So Petal and I are facilitators of the International Black Summit. Like we're two of how many this year?
Like 23 of us, I think.
There's 23 of us, right? And then there's probably as many, probably 3 times as many who are not active this year that facilitate this kind of conversation, right? And so we're not just asking, what's your vision? Like, that's not the question, right? What we engage in is helping you, we engage in using distinctions, like using tools, like we use language in a particular way, right? And in the excavation of how we're using their tools, one begins to see insight, right? So we might ask you about your vision, right? But that'll be just that part of the conversation. It'll be something else as we're distinguishing, like one of our distinctions is speak from the I, right? That's a distinction in our space. It's a ground rule and it's a distinction. Speak from the I is like, share with us from your own experience, right? So, you know how sometimes we say that you feel a certain way, and when you feel that way, it makes you do the things you do.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to do that in I, speaking from the I would then say, sometimes I find myself feeling a particular way about something that I saw on television that was very disturbing to me. Not to us, not to them, not everybody, not to you,
Mm-hmm.
but to me. And so I want to share with you my experience, which is a little different than sometimes we'll get together and say, Black people should be doing this. And I feel like we ought to do that. And I feel like we ought to rise up and do this. And I don't understand why the so-and-sos are in our community. We should take the beauty, not beauty salons, the beauty supply stores back from them, right? And we get into that kind of conversation. It's no longer about what I can shift over here with me. That's not speaking from the I. So as we're distinguishing this distinction of speaking from the I, can you imagine 3 or 4 or 5 people talking about it? And if we're distinguishing, like, oh, well, yeah, I do say that about the Black community. And I do say we ought to do this, and we should change that, and we should fix so-and-so. And then you notice that, okay, now, well, what part in it am I going to play? What part in the we am I going to actually shift? What part over here with me am I going to shift? So just in your example of what people see and speaking from you, we'll take that and begin to break it apart. And as we're breaking it apart, I get to see, you get to see, we get to see different aspects of ourselves. So like your buddy, you go to your buddy and say, yeah, I can, I want to talk about my vision. And they say, well, Moses, that's a good idea, right? But it's going to be hard. There's a lot of people doing podcasts out there, but you should go for it because you got the right energy, right? But underneath, they're like, it's going to be rough. I know it's going to be rough, right? We're in our space. We would ask you, why? What's your vision? Why the podcast? What is it that you're seeing about that? Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna ask you, just so we can, get a live test on the show. So why? What's your vision, and why the podcast?
Oh man, okay. My why? Well, when I made it at the time, one of the main things that I was really like looking for was a place where I can listen about like Black excellence, about Black responsibility, and not just the everyday kind of stories. Because when I started it, it was during COVID. It was after the murder of George Floyd. And so for me, it was at that time when I would listen to something um, that was around either it was a Black podcast or on some news show. It would all be focused on like not just the negative, but it was like the negative, the absolute worst in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the perspectives of Black people. And so it's not just like not the race portion as well. It was also race, it was economics, it was also like lifestyles, like all these different negative kind of conversations were happening at that time. And so for me, I wanted to hear some good news. I wanted to hear about people that were winning and people that were thriving in their fields and were able to navigate through this messy and disordered life and find a way to blaze their own path, or
Mm-hmm.
even just do their own thing and do it well and be at peace and have fun and like have a family and just like have peace for the most part. And so like that's what I wanted to like do, and I wanted to seek out those people and like seek out stories of peace and of love, and like how people were able to, like, in this messy situation, how were they able to take what they had, what everyone has, people, everyone has who is born has a life, and they're able to go through it, some sooner than others, some much longer than others, but we have this we can breathe. And so that's like starting point. So like from
Mm-hmm.
there, like how can we use what we have, our resources around us, to build it into things that are within our mind, and how can we then put that into reality in such a way that we are well compensated for it, as well as recognized for what we did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was all about that. And so again, I was in college at that time, studying my second year. And so for me, it was like, okay, I'm on this path right now, but it's like I want to get some insight on how other people are doing things. And so that's when I started the show. I interviewed my brother first, and he was like, from what I can tell, he was like living his life. And so it's like, okay, like, it's like, hey, bro, like, can you like talk to me about this? Like, what's going on? And so for the most part, I started off with him. And then I was able to go onto a website and find some other Black entrepreneurs who were off doing their own thing and finding their own way through this messy life. And so they were able to do that. And I found those people, and I found more people, and those people set me up with these people. And so I was able to get the ball rolling in that case. And so for me, that's what it's about. It's about finding Black people who are able to take what they've been given and to like to spin garbage into gold. And it's not just monetary wise, it's more physical, more spiritual, and just
Mm-hmm.
being being healthy in both aspects overall. So I know that was a little bit long in terms of
Oh, it's
the
it's
why, but
fine. It is absolutely fine. And let's say if that was happening, right? People were living their best life, like specifically Black people. They were doing their own thing, right? They were happy, healthy, and wise, right? They were fulfilling on the vision that you see, right? When you go to talk to people, they're talking about what's working, right? They're talking about how to support each other and go into whatever that next level is. They're talking about their health, right? They're talking about their relationships. Like it's working. Like, so if that's the world of your vision, right? So if that world was happening, what else what would you now say is possible?
anything and everything, people will be able to just, if they have a dream, they're able to then act on it, and they're able to do it in such a way where they're recognized for it. People will be able to have, I guess, they'll be able to have an education. People will be able to understand who they are, understand their purpose, because that basic, I guess, if in the world that you've painted from my vision, then there wouldn't be, to me at least, there wouldn't be that internal fear. It's who you are, but it's not who you are perceived to be, if that makes any sense.
Can I offer something here?
Yes, go ahead.
How about because you are?
That's, yeah.
Because you are Black.
Yeah.
You get to live out a certain particular kind of life because you are Black. You get to live this life of power, freedom, and full self-expression.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like the shift would be because, not, you know what I mean? Like, not like, yeah, because you are. What are you seeing in that? I saw a little twinkle.
No, I mean that definitely is a little, like, a little bit of a turn there, but it's really, yes, that is right. It is, and it's not in spite of all the challenges and all the difficulties it is, as you said, because of these challenges and difficulties I am, and you recognize that you are that, even if that didn't happen. That's who you are.
And so my offer is lead with that. You're going to get a chance to talk about what's not that. That's going to come up automatically. Right? What's not working, what we're not, because of this, because I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too light, I'm too dark, right? I didn't go to the right school. All of that's going to come up. Right? I'm just inviting you as you continue your quest with people, lead with that vision that you have. Lead with, I do this podcast because I'm creating a world where Black people are happy, wealthy, wise, healthy. I'm creating, you know what I'm like? That's why I'm generating the podcast. This is one expression of the how to fulfill on the vision that I'm having. Mm-hmm. It's just something to think about.
Definitely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And then the other stuff will show up.
Yeah. As a result.
It's going to show up because it's there.
Yeah.
It's right there. The vision and it's front of the hand. We got a distinction called front of the hand, back of the hand, right? So the vision and the obstacles are kissing cousins. They ride along right next to each other. You never have one without the other. Oftentimes what happens is we might concentrate on one more than the other. We might concentrate more on the obstacles and not the vision. Right? And where intention goes, what is it? Where intention goes, attention flows. So if we concentrate on obstacles, the obstacles get bigger. Sometimes they get much bigger than they really are. If we concentrate on the vision, then the vision gets bigger. And if the vision gets bigger, then the obstacles get smaller.
Hey, and Jonn, I just want to say, now you see the hand. Before you were just looking at the back or the front. Now you see the whole hand that's inside of it, that's actually orchestrating it. Like the truth. That space when you talked about being in the center, like if you look at it this way, what you see a whole hand. Mm-hmm. Right? And so there's always something revealing itself as I engage in a deeper inquiry into ourselves. You said something, and thank you, Jonn. Like, that was beautiful.
That was absolutely poetic. It was,
I mean, beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Moses, for being willing to engage in that.
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I really appreciate you asking me, and especially, so it's like for me, it's after having that experience, it's like I said, like this is like that's like a key part of the summit right there in terms of understanding and asking those questions and that feedback, and like, well, what if it was this, or think about it this way, and like shift your perspective in this different way. And so like for me, it's even after like I'm definitely gonna go after this and like go do some journaling, do some praying, and definitely like think that through and try it. And now it's accepting it and coming to realize that, okay, so yeah, instead of like in spite of, it's because I am, because of who I am. Yeah.
And,
Now, imagine we just got that in about 15 minutes.
That
An hour all together, right? But 15 minutes, that last little interaction was about 10, 15 minutes. Right?
yeah.
We do this for 3 days.
Wow.
yeah. And there's something I got out of it. So this just shows you when we're in this conversation and there's the interaction, I got something. And you shared about the garbage, turning the garbage into, like, I became present to transformation.
Yep.
I became present to alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
That space where you turn a baser metal into gold.
Yeah.
You didn't know you had the gold all along in all this garbage, right? You didn't know that the gold was there. And the moment you start engaging the garbage, suddenly the gold starts to show itself. Like transformation. We are in our 33rd, this is our 33rd annual summit event. It's a double three. It's communication on steroids. And it's communication that some you might want to have and some you don't want to have because it might expose something that needs to be exposed, but you might be afraid of exposing that thing because you might have to do something about it.
True.
Right? Yeah. And so there is, it happens in conversation, and a conversation is a communication. But 33 is mastery. It provides mastery in the area of transforming something within myself that has just been fodder. It's been food. It's been the soil that my vision has been sitting in, and I have been calling it garbage. And it has something. And when I engage that garbage, what begins to happen is it shows that beautiful flower that has been holding for us all along. And it gets to live and it gets to thrive. And what's interesting, the garbage becomes fertilizer. Like fertilizer for that thing to grow and to move. It's now a part of it, which has always been a part of it. We just didn't know it. It's been your access to who you really are. It's been your access. It's been my access. So I thank you for sharing that, because I got present for myself. That all is whatever I got.
Absolutely. Thank you. And
Thank you.
even like to even go even further into what you're saying about like the fertilizer and like the garbage, it's that for it to become fertilizer, like you can't just have a bunch of vegetables. You can't just have all that compost and then put it on the ground and like put a seed and expect it to flower up. It needs to first um like decompose and wear down and die before it can be able to be used for life. And so like that grain of wheat scripture, like a grain of wheat must go into the ground and die before it can spring up life. And so yeah, so for the trash metaphor, in terms of that case, turning into fertilizer, take the trash and then just find a way to like break it down so much that then the only thing it can be used for is as soil to then grow.
Yeah. And you turn it over. You go
Exactly.
into it. You know, you're not afraid of it. You ain't afraid of that compost.
Nah, get your
No,
hands
you're not
dirty.
afraid of compost.
And
It's just compost.
and the thing that I'm getting
Yeah.
out of that whole trash example, particularly after you said what you just said, Moses, is to recognize. That's what I'm hearing. To recognize that these vegetables, right? This banana peel, right? This stuff that I threw out, it's got to go through a process. And when it goes through the process, it's going to become, in this case, like fertilizer, right? But recognizing that in the current state, I'm hearing is like really powerful. Like it's already fertilizer. You know what I mean? But it's just not in fertilizer form yet.
Yeah.
What we're calling garbage is fertilizer. I'm recognizing that what we're calling garbage. So now I get to transform my relationship to it in the present for the use that I'm going to have for it in the future. I feel like just starting a sermon right now. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was God, and the Word was with God. Now I'm
But no, I mean, you're right. And even it's that idea of realizing what it is at the very moment, realizing the potential
yes,
at its origin.
yes,
And so for some reason this morning, God put it on my heart. The ask and it shall be given to you, seek and it shall find, knock and the door will be open to you. And in each of those instances, it's really interesting what I was like thinking about. Like, why am I thinking about this? One of the things is that it is a present action. And so it's like ask, and then the result of that present action is something that will occur in the future. So ask and it will be given to you. Seek
yes,
presently and you will find it. Knock on the door and it will be open to you. And so it's this idea of things will come to you if you do things. And so like for me, like if I were to like distill all of that into like a single phrase, it'll be like act and you will see fruit of your action.
yes.
And so
You
if
know
you
what?
act on something, then there will have to be results from that action. Yeah. Oh, please go ahead, Petal.
Oh no, I love what you were saying, and what you said was the now and the future. And there's something that I heard. You know, it says you shall find.
Mm-hmm.
You shall. And what's interesting, in the moment of the knocking, boom, bam, it's for us to see that it's both riding together, like the knocking and the shelling. And I thank you. Like, thank you for that. Because I don't know that I saw it like that before. That the possibility is that God is like that kind of instant. You know, like that kind of instant.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And again, I guess another scripture would be when Jesus healed the 10 lepers and they had to go and he told them, make sure that you present yourself to the priest. And so and it wasn't that Jesus laid hands on them or said a word and they were, oh, like new skin, but it was for the most part, and they were healed as they went. And so it is that progression of them going from having that instance, that meet up with Jesus, and like, boom, like this guy says something, he says, I have to go over here. Okay. And so as I'm going over here, I'm slowly realizing that I'm becoming a new person in all my, in the case of like leprosy, it's like all the old skin, all of that is just
All the way.
slothing off away. Exactly. And so it's
Yeah.
this idea of literally like peeling away that old skin of yourself as you're doing something, as you are acting in the path that you should take, that you've been directed to take, because it is your purpose from the origin, it's who you are. And there's no greater, I guess, duty for one to do than to live out the life that they've been given and to do it well.
Moses, it sounds like you're talking about the International Black Summit.
It does, doesn't it? You should
Well, I
come
guess
join
Here,
us.
they're here, they're here, they're here.
You should come join us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Virtual, you can do it from Texas.
Absolutely. So it's okay, because I think we're a little bit over time here. And I thank you both very much for this conversation. It's been really enlightening for me, and I'm sure if you're listening to this, for sure, definitely this will just give you more ideas and even hopefully affect your mindset positively in some way. And so, okay, wrap up time. Where's the summit, and how can people get in touch with both of you guys?
Well, the summit is virtually, so you can participate virtually. Like we're on Zoom, you just got a bigger screen, a lot more people, right? You can participate virtually. And we're also in Buffalo, New York. We're at the Buffalo Marriott in Buffalo, New York. You can come participate with us live there. Or you can participate with us in Antigua, West Indies. We're going to also be live there. We're going to be having one event across virtual and those locations. And whoever decide, like if you decide you want to do it and you want to have like 10 people there with you, then it'll be like that. You'll be virtual, your 10 people, along with another 100 or so people in the room. And you can find out more at blacksummit.org. If you want to check out a special summit share, you can go to blacksummit.org/summit share. It's a recording. I think it's about 75-minute recording about the International Black Summit, what it is, what's available, like that. If you need anything after listening to this part, you might just say, look, I just want to do it. Just go to blacksummit.org, click on Annual Summit Event, read the information, register yourself.
Wonderful.
You can do it virtually, like I said, or you can come to Buffalo, or you can come to Antigua. I'm going to be in Buffalo. Petal's going to be in Antigua. Some of the facilitators are going to be in Buffalo. Some of them are going to be virtual. Some of them are going to be in Antigua. And so that's how they can participate.
And the
Wonderful.
thing is, we invite you, we invite your listeners to come. And on Thursday night of we have an opening event where we welcome our participants, and our participants can invite people from all over, whomever is in their life. It doesn't matter. It's an open event. It's a complimentary event, and you get to hear more. You even have an opportunity to register, if that is something you are moved to do. But I'm asking your listeners and you to really bring yourself and listen for what life is saying for you, to you in your life. And it's unfolding for you. And see if this is something that fits. And I say, come and participate with us, because we really like it when you come and hang out with us. It's a wonderful thing. So you're invited. Please come.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Petal, and thank you very much, Jonn. And you have one more thing? Go ahead.
Yeah, just one more thing. Now, if you're listening to this podcast after the annual summit event, like after August 3rd through the 6th, you didn't make it, you missed it, you didn't know about it, you're just tuning in to Black Gold and you're hearing it, still go to blacksummit.org. We're doing something all the time, right? We have virtual events all the time. We've got a suite of community events we're rolling out throughout the year. So if for whatever reason you hear this afterwards, then go to the website, check us out, leave us, contact us, let us know how we can support you into bringing into being your vision for the Black community in the world. If you're listening to this before the annual summit event, then come. Don't wait till what's going to happen afterwards. Don't wait for what's going to happen in January. Just come. Just come. And if for whatever reason you're not able to, we'll understand. But we've been around for 33 years. We'll be here a little while longer, I'm sure. You never know. Moses might be one of our facilitators next couple of years.
You never know.
You never know.
Eh?
And that's how you reach us. We're not promoting ourselves individually. So you can contact us at blacksummit.org. You can go to all our socials, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. Am I leaving somebody out? And Twitter.
Okay.
Best kept secret is now out.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being on this show. And I have one more question for each of you. And that is, if you had the ability to send a worldwide text message, what would your message be?
My message would be, discover your authentic self and share it with the world. Discover your authentic self and share it with the world.
That's a wonderful one. What about you, Petal?
And what comes for me is life is good. Like, life has so much to offer beyond what we see and think. Be willing to go beyond what you see and what you think and let that unfold. It's beautiful.
Those are both really, really excellent texts to send, especially for the summit. And so thank you both for being on the show. And hopefully for listeners, if you are able to make it, please go ahead and everything will be linked down below, and you'll be able to simply sign up and join whenever the summit starts. Or again, as Jonn suggested, after the summit is over, they're running stuff all the time. So make sure that you hop on there and get on their email list just to make sure that you're informed about new events and upcoming things that are happening within the community. So thank you both very much, Petal and Jonn, for being on the show with me today.
You're welcome, and thank you, Moses.
Absolutely.
Yes, and thank you. It's been fun.
Thank y'all, the listeners.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.